right. It's a lot, but it was a bad accident ahead of me. It was a bad accident, and let me turn it. I wasn't sure what was going on. I just ended the live stream. I meant to pause it, but I ended up ending it. But yeah, it was a real bad it was a bad accident ahead of me. And this highway is a pretty dangerous highway. It's a pretty dangerous highway. But the alternative way is basically like a trace. And one time I went on the trace before the sun went up, man, and I hit a deer. So I was like, nah, I ain't doing that again. So nah, this is pretty much the point, man. That Esau has engineered a mindset, and I go into it all the time. And hey, call Halayim like how about Shema Shai? I was protected, because like I said, you couldn't see it because I had the phone kind of facing down. But there was a whole lot of police cars, an ambulance, tow truck. It must have been pretty bad. But and I was right ahead of it. You know what I mean? So that's why we pray before we leave the house, man. We pray before we leave the house, man. We pray before we leave the house, and we say the Wadi Havashmal Shai that if we make it back to the house safely, man, because he's always casting judgment. He's always casting judgment, man. But that's pretty much the point, man. That's pretty much the point, is that this man has engineered a mindset that's contrary to growth, and it's basically he's engineered sin culture. I go into degeneracy and I go into debauchery, but ultimately it's sin culture, man. All right, all because America is projected as having wealth. All right, and it's like a first world country. It doesn't mean it's not a low-life country. It's a low-life country, man. Don't you understand that before America became Romanized, especially earlier 20th century America, the culture was elegance? How do I know if I wasn't there? Because I go into the history, man. See, before we had degenerate culture, all right, you had royal culture, for lack of better words. See, after the Crusades, all right, Jake brought that Middle Eastern culture back to France, all right, and that's where France became very prestigious, all right. So they really got that prestige culture from the Middle East, okay, and that's not something that's talked about like in school or anything, all right. But Jake really got that prestige culture, all right. When you go into the history of etiquette, it really goes back to the Middle East. But at that time, all right, France was really the seat of class and culture, and this was when Jake was in there, all right. The Moors was really about class and culture, and that's when we had ballroom dances and we were courting, and everybody aspired to be classy, for lack of better words, opulent. Even homeless people back then carried themselves in a manner that was like of high class in their behavior, because the culture was about being high class. The high class was the culture. All right. High class was the culture. All right. Then Britain took, they took after the French. All right. With that high class, prestigious mentality. All right. But through the French, the British, and the Spaniards, they gave birth to a little horn. All right, and in the 20th century, all right, that little horn, all right, had some type of prestige to it too, like World War I. The mindset, with the exception, all right, with the exception of the South, we had the pioneer days, and you had the mindset of the South, which is always looked at as like a little country, whereas the East Coast was a little more put together, for lack of better words, how they spoke English and all those things. All right, but you have to remember, like in the East Coast, everything was modeled after Europe. That's why you have New York, New Hampshire. Everything is New Jersey, because those originally were in Europe. Jersey, I think York or Hampshire. They call it new over here because the 13 colonies was made out the Europe. Okay. But America adopted pop culture. You even had the Roaring 20s, all right, which that kind of, the skirts got a little higher then, but I know for a fact the 50s, especially the 60s, America developed that pop culture, and America started to get real hippie-like. You had women's sexual revolution and women's liberation, and you had the acid movement, you had the hippie movement, you had the anti-war movement, you had the free spirit movement, all right? Then Jay had the soul, Soul Train, all right? Jake had the Jerry Curl. Jake had they brought drugs into the environment, all right? Welfare, single parent households. They engineered the street mindset through groups like NWA for the prison industrial complex. It's so many angles that it'll be unrealistic for me to put it all in a 10-minute video. But there's so many things that contributed to the mindset of Jake in America and the mindset of America. All right. But originally, degeneracy was not the culture. Originally, a woman didn't have, or the average person didn't have tattoos all over their body. And a lot of us have tattoos because of what we were a part of before we came into the truth. And that's okay, because that's who we were before we came into the truth. All right. The Most High woke us up to a marvelous light. All right. I was at the store yesterday and somebody was playing Michael Jackson, and just listening to Michael Jackson, the vibration was higher, man, when Michael Jackson was alive playing music that was in his prime, man. The music was just better 40 years ago, you know? It was just better, man. 30, 40 years ago, man. Even the rap was better. It wasn't just on that demonic frequency, you know? You know? But the point, man, the point is that you know, degeneracy was not always the culture, and every archetype that Esau engineers for our nation is a degenerate archetype. You know, even the preachers that he has on payroll, they only talk about prospering. They might as well be rappers. All rappers talk about is prospering. All they talk about is money. The preachers, they might as well be rappers, because all they do is talk about is money. You know? I'm just venting at this point. But that's pretty much the point, man. All they fucking do is talk about money, man. And money is important. It says that money is a defense. But you're not supposed to worship money, man. And you have our people, their God is really money. Their God is really money. Because our people are after the flesh. They're after the nature, after human nature, material things. Things that feed the flesh. Things that can do with the money that can feed the flesh. Then we have another counter mindset in our culture, and that's individualism, man. You know? It's individualism, man. That's why our women are not with us, man. They're hyper individualists. All right? They're hyper individualists, man. All right? You know? And Jake is a everybody's hyper individual, man. Especially when you leave like the South, especially when you just go to bigger cities and shit, man. You know, everybody got their career, their little apartment and shit. You know? But did it not say that in Wisdom of Solomon 14? How everybody went after their own hearts? That's part of that pre-flood mindset. Part of that reset mindset that happened before the flood. And everybody went after their own hearts. You know? We're in Egypt again, man. You know? But see, in the kingdom, we're not going to have no fucking purple hair woman with a fucking for rent sign on her breast and a caution sign on her vagina, man, and just crazy stuff, man. All right? And we're not going to have niggas in our nation. It's not gonna be cool to be a nigga. We're not gonna have niggas in our nation, man. The nigga archetype is gonna die here in America, man. You know? The nigga archetype is gonna die here in America, man. Alright? But with that, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Hawashai, Bahashur, Hakodash. I also want to give double honor to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elects. The Bible Baal, Kum Yasha Allah Shalom.